Okay, so the key to making a good stop motion in Google Slides is literally making hundreds and hundreds of slides. So what you're going to want to do is to leave your first slide exactly how it is, and then you're going to duplicate the slide and make a very small change to maybe one, maybe a couple of elements. So for example, if I want this knight to move forward, I'm going to need to grab all the parts that are with that knight, and I'm going to click literally just one click to the right on my keyboard to move him just one, and then I need to stop. And then I need to duplicate the slide, and I need to click on those elements again, and I'm going to click one to the right, and I'm going to stop. Now I could be also doing something with this guy. So say maybe I want this guy to be like, oh, darn it, I'm about to get hit. I'm going to put down my visor. I might, on these slides, as my one character moves forward, have this character's visor slowly lowering so that he is ready to fight. I'm going to duplicate, have this guy advance. Have this guy's visor go down a little bit more. Maybe I should have put some lines in his visor so it looks like he can see, but we'll just have it covering his eyes for now. The key to doing those really small movements is now when I play the slides, quickly clicking through them, it looks like an animation is happening. If I do movements that are too fast, it's not going to look smooth and coherent like something's happening. So again, the slow clicks through, you can see the gradual changes, but eventually when I quick click through, it'll be like a movie. Now, the reason that we made all the different elements separate from each other is so that I can have the character doing multiple things, right? So for example, if I want him also to be bringing, oops, this we're grouping some things together. Like if I always want the shield to be together, I might just group that so that it's always together if I move it. I'm going to have him bring his shield more in front of his body as he moves forward. So now when I move the slide, I'm going to have the shield move slightly in and the sword move slightly out. Again, then I'm going to duplicate the slide. I'm going to have my shield move slightly in because I want that to end up in front of his body. And he's going to reach out with that sword a little bit more. The character over here, I'm going to group that whole shield over here as well. I have to get rid of me for a minute. Group. Character over here is also going to start bringing his sword or his shield in because he sees this guy's coming, but he's going to pull his sword back. So see how when I duplicate that, I change 4 elements. I move the shield slightly, the sword slightly, the sword slightly, the shield slightly. When I duplicate this next time, I can continue moving those elements. I might move the shield slightly. I'm noticing that it's a little weird that this arm looks like it's coming in front of his body. So I'm just going to make sure that his body is in the front of that arm. And that might happen sometimes where things end up in weird layers. I'm going to have him stretch out his arm a little bit more. So his sword is going to come out a little bit more. This one, he's still retreating a little bit, but he's going to keep bringing that shield across. And then I duplicate. This time I'm going to have him move forward completely. This guy is going to bring his shield across some more. And so if I go back to the beginning of my slides and I present what this is going to look like, you can see that by doing really small movements, I can have it appear that the characters are moving. See how each of those slides makes a tiny adjustment. I can add elements at certain points that weren't previously on my screen if it makes sense for the moment. So for example, if, say in this one, our yellow knight finally decides he's going to be brave, so he's going to step forward a little bit, and you can see that their swords first touch, and sometimes when swords touch, there's that little spark that happens. So maybe on this slide, because their swords are first touching, I'm going to create that little yellow spark that would happen when their swords touch. On the next slide, when I duplicate it, he's going to move forward a little bit more. And maybe now his sword is also down a little bit because he's going to go for the jab. So I'm going to rotate that sword. Now that might have been too much rotation for one step. Remember, we're doing little turns at a time. So a little bit of rotation. Let's duplicate. A little bit more rotation. This guy maybe is turning his back a little bit. Duplicate. The key is to remember to duplicate between these things, because if you don't duplicate and you just keep adjusting on the same one, you're not going to get that motion look. So let's go back to the beginning, play it through, and see how that spark appears on there just for a couple of moments. So here we are, he's moving forward. He sticks his hand out. This guy comes forward, we see that spark. The spark is there, the spark is there, and then it's gone as he retreats back away. Go back to the beginning, forward, 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 spark, and backs away. I'm going to keep editing on my slides. You can see I'm up to 12 and I have just maybe a second or two of animation done. The key, remember, is to just go very slowly and duplicate between those movements. So eventually I want to get him to have his shield over here. So as I do different movements, I want to keep remembering to move the shield a little bit, move the shield a little bit, move the swords in and out, or rotate them to make them look like they are interacting with each other.